Have you ever had one of those moments, a feeling of deep connection, of awe, maybe something you'd even call spiritual? Well, what if that feeling wasn't just out there? What if it was actually something we could see happening inside your own brain? It's a wild idea, right? And it's at the very heart of a fascinating and, yeah, pretty controversial field we're going to dive into today. Just listen to this from Nobel Prize winner Francis Crick. He called it the astonishing hypothesis. He said that everything you feel, your hopes, your sense of self, it's all just the behavior of your neurons. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The idea that our entire inner world might just be chemistry. That's the huge monumental question this new field is trying to get its arms around.
So that's the big question, isn't it? Is our inner world just brain activity? And that question leads us straight to our topic today, a discipline that dares to live right at that intersection of science and spirit.
All right, so let's put a name to this idea. It's called neurotheology. And at its core, yeah, it's the study that links neuroscience with religion. But it's so much more than just, sticking monks in an fMRI machine. It's a really deep attempt to understand the relationship between how our brains work and who we are spiritually, using tools from all over: neuroscience, psychology, even medicine.
But where do you even start with something that huge? I mean, mapping a territory this vast and, frankly, this personal? Well, for that, you need a pioneer. You need someone who's not afraid to draw the first lines on the map. And that's where a guy like researcher Andrew Newberg comes in. He's literally trying to write the book on this stuff, a sort of foundational guide, a Principia Neurotheological, which is a pretty bold name, right? What's so interesting about his goal is it's not just for science to study religion. He's aiming for a whole new conversation where both science and theology can work together to chase a bigger, more complete understanding. It's an incredibly ambitious project. And he breaks down this massive ambition into 4 main goals. First, obviously, to better understand the human brain. Second, to better understand religion and theology themselves. Then it gets even bigger, to improve the human condition, both through our physical health and our spiritual well-being. Do you see what's happening there? It's a two-way street. This isn't science looking down a microscope at faith. The idea is that both sides could actually enrich each other. Okay, but this whole idea naturally leads to a massive debate, a real conflict right at the heart of neurotheology. Is all this new science just trying to explain God away, or is it simply trying to explain the experience of God? And this dilemma really splits people into 2 main camps. You've got the reductionist view, which basically says, yep, it's all just brain states. Spiritual feelings are a quirk of evolution that science will eventually explain completely, making theology obsolete. But then you have the integrative view. These folks see neuroscience as a new tool, a new language to explore ancient ideas. So here's the billion-dollar question. Is the brain the source of it all? Or is it more like a radio receiver that's just picking up a signal from somewhere else? And this is where we have to be really, really careful. This quote from researcher Anne Runehove just hits the nail on the head. She reminds us that those colorful spots you see on a brain scan, they're just pictures of brain chemistry. They are not a picture of God. They're not even a picture of an apple pie, A scan can show that your brain is doing something when you have a feeling of faith, but it can never, ever show you the object of that faith itself. Okay, so we've been talking about a lot of big, high-level ideas and debates. But what does this actually look like in the real world? How does all this theory get applied to actual people? Well, let's look at a fascinating case study at a place called Restoring Hope Ministries. They're using a technology called neurofeedback. If you've never heard of it, it's pretty wild. It's basically a way to give your brain a mirror. It gives you real-time feedback on your own brainwaves, so you can actually learn to regulate them yourself. And of course, this is all done under very strict supervision. And look at how carefully they structure this training. They are not messing around. From the very first week, the focus is on realistic claims and setting clear boundaries. And check this out. A huge chunk of the program, especially around week 8, is dedicated squarely to ethics, safety, and understanding the scope of practice. They are building the safety rails before they even start driving the train. So let's really zoom in on those ethical guardrails. Because honestly, when you're dealing with a technology that can literally touch the mind and spirit, the stakes could not be any higher. This is where all that philosophical debate becomes intensely practical really fast. The number one rule here is that client safety is everything. The students in this program operate under incredibly strict rules.
They can't just make treatment decisions on their own. They can't go off and market themselves as some kind of independent neuro guru. Everything, and I mean everything, is done under the direct eye of a supervisor. It's a rigid framework designed for one thing: protection.
And all of this flows from one simple, powerful principle. When there's any doubt at all, any uncertainty, you always choose the path that best protects the client, keeps the documentation clear, and upholds ethical integrity. It's a rule that makes one thing absolutely clear. In this delicate space, there are no shortcuts. Period.
So what happens if something unexpected does occur? Well, they've got a clear 3-step safety plan. First, instruct. Clients are told from the very beginning to report anything that feels off. Second, identify. Students are trained to spot any potential bad reactions, like a headache or fatigue. And third, escalates. They have to tell a supervisor immediately. No delays. It's a simple but absolutely vital procedure.
And this brings us right back to the biggest picture of all. As our technology gets more powerful, as we get closer to actually mapping the biological roots of our most profound experiences, we're left with this monumental question. As we map the brain, who draws the ethical lines? The power of this science comes with an immense responsibility, one we're only just beginning to understand.